Hey guys, welcome back. It's Shelby. Today we are making an awesome fall table runner for my table because I don't have one and I want one. I'll link everything you need down in the description along with my socials. I will be making this runner one of two ways. I already know which way I'm going to do it, but I will explain both ways and I will link everything you need to do it, either way you choose. There's pros and cons to both ways. Basically, one is the way I will be doing it, and the other is sewing it. And the reason I'm not sewing it is because I'm not a great sewer, so my stitching is going to be off anyway, and it'll actually probably take me longer. Plus, I don't want to haul the sewing machine upstairs. But, you know, for gluing it, it's also going to require like laying everything out and weighting it down with books, which you wouldn't have to do. If you run it through the sewing machine, the stitch holds it together and you're done. So there's pros and cons to both methods. I wouldn't actually say one's easier than the other. Well, actually the glue is the slowest method. I was gonna say one's not really faster than the other, but the glue needs drying time. So I'm choosing the slower way, which is actually going to require me hauling books too, but it's the way I wanna do it because I don't wanna sew it. But you can definitely sew it if you want. I'm gonna show you how. I'm gonna show you what we're working with. We have a lovely fall ribbon. It's just got these pretty leaves on it. A beautiful kind of coppery mesh, sparkly reflective ribbon. And then this super cool kind of gold fringe. Can you see that? And this one's got a little bit of wire in it, so you can see it'll like hold a shape, which is pretty cool. So I'm gonna put all these together to make a beautiful fall ribbon that I'm really excited about for my table runner. I was looking at the sizes and it should actually fall right in the size range of a legitimate store-bought table runner, only it's gonna look so much better, so I'm really, really excited about that. Don't forget to like the video if you do, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more videos. We'll get right into it. So here is the beautiful dining room table. It's a circle. Basically, I want my runner to go down about 17 inches from the edge and across, and 17 inches down the other edge, which is going to be a total of 87 inches. So yeah, that's my measurement that I'm going for. All right, and next step is to measure out our ribbons and cut it. So basically take a measuring tape and your ribbon, measure it out and cut it. To find the length, I just measured the top of my table plus however much you want it to hang off your table on both sides. Make sure to give yourself a little bit of leeway. If you're sewing it, you're gonna need to sew that lip under. If you're gluing it, just like the very edge to glue under. So yeah, include that in your measurements, but it's gonna be pretty unique to the table that you're covering. So yeah, I'm cutting out my 3 ribbons, same length, and we'll return right when I have that done. All right, so find a place of non-padded carpeted floor, lay out a piece of wax paper the length of your table runner. Now the idea is not to get glue on the wax paper. That would be bad and potentially mess up the craft. However, if you do have to get glue on something, better wax paper than your floor or your books. So yep. Next step is to lay out your beautiful center piece of fabric, because it is fabric, it's fabric ribbon. It's already edged, which is perfect. But yeah, just lay it out on top of the wax paper. That's the next step. All right, now that your center piece of fabric is down, take your glue and lay out a thin, hear me when I say this, thin bead of glue right along the edge. You can do one side then the other, or both sides if you're feeling particularly daring. This does take a while to dry, so you should be fine doing that. Don't do too much because, like I said, it'll seep through the ribbon, the fabric, get on the wax paper, possibly stick and ruin your craft, you know, but at least not your floor or your books. But thin bead of glue right there. We are doing a 3rd layer, which is like a safety net, but you know, better safe than sorry. So dupe, and we shall return. Okay, so we got the glue on both sides. You can see there and there. I've laid out my next layer right next to it, and I'm just going to lightly put it on oops, sorry, get it in frame too, close to the edge, just slightly over it, line it up, all the way down. This is really hard to do one-handed. Just like that. and do the same thing on this side. All right, so both sides are on. It's already looking pretty fantastic. You don't really need to pin it down or anything. The glue's pretty tacky. It'll actually hold it down fairly well. You do, however, need 2 hands to push it down. At this point, it's still completely wet, so it will, separate pretty easily. But the ribbon I'm using is straight up mesh, so the glue will come through it. That's why I said a very thin layer of glue. And the glue's coming through the top. That's where our third ribbon comes into play. And I'm gonna get that right now and show you. Now I'm gonna add just the tiniest little drop of glue every so often, just like drop, not even a line, just little drops, just to make sure that it is tacking down the mesh one in place, but also making sure that enough is poking through to keep our lock ribbon in place. And that is what I'm calling the little frill ribbon, because it's gonna lock all the glue down and make sure it doesn't transfer anywhere. Just like that, and just like that. Now same exact thing, take your top ribbon and put it right over where the glue is and press it into place. Just like that. And this is great because the gold hides the edge. It's got that frilly edge, so it hides the edge of the copper ribbon. And it's also going to make sure, because it's got this line down the center here, that no glue escapes. Okay, not entirely done, but this is where we're at so far. Basically, if you're going to sew it, instead of glue, just layer these 3 pieces together and run a stitch right down there. So I figured I'd let you know why I decided to glue it instead of sew it, other than being lazy and not wanting to haul a sewing machine up the stairs, which, not gonna lie, really did factor into it. But I'm pretty new to sewing. You may have seen my sewing an evening cape video, which, saying that, it seems ambitious to go from not wanting to sew 2 straight lines on a table runner to having already sewn an evening cape, which actually turned out really well, and I got a lot of compliments on it. I'll link it above if you haven't seen it, but yeah, I don't know, I just didn't really feel like it. And with the evening cape, it was lace, which, I mean, this is ribbon, so I guess it's similar, but the lace kind of hides the stitching. Like, if it's not a straight line, you can't really tell. So I felt a little bit more comfortable with that. But yeah, I mean, this is a pretty easy project. It would be easy to sew. Just kind of use your best judgment or whatever it is you want to do. Also, gluing's great if you don't have a sewing machine, because sewing machines are expensive, and this is a way to get a very similar look and a basically identical, end result for the craft if you don't have a sewing machine, so it's a great alternative. Next up, we are going to cover what we just did with more wax paper. It's really loud, as you can tell, so I'm not going to film that because it's just gonna, mess up the video quality, so just cover it with a layer of wax paper. Now that you have your protective layer over the top, start weighting it down with books. So the weight of the books isn't as important as the fact that the books cover the lines of ribbon there and there. So just make sure that the edges cover it, and you're good. Now that you got your books on it, allow it to dry overnight, and tomorrow we'll see what we've got. Okay, so now just peel the wax paper back. You should be left with something that looks like this, and we're just gonna flip it over and finish up the edges. Okay, so for the edges, what I want to do is make like a little triangle thing. So I flipped my runner over, and I'm just taking the glue, and I'm gonna do a nice, relatively thin, but kind of thick line across the top here. Bring it out a little bit onto the mesh if you can. Just a little bit of a line just slightly along the top of the mesh here. Don't do enough that it'll fall through, but just a little bit. Down here as well. I'm gonna put a little bit right there because I can. And I'm just gonna fold these to the center. I can do that one-handed. I don't know if I can. Let me put the phone down, use 2 hands. Okay, so I have folded the edges down, put a little bit of extra glue here. I'm just pressing it in, nice and flat, nice pointed edge. Everything lines up nicely, so I'm just gonna cover it with the wax paper. Cover it with a book, just for a little bit of pressure. and let that dry and do the other side. Got the point made on the other side. Gonna cover this with my wax paper and my book. And just let that dry. All right, I think we are ready to see how it turned out. Yeah, pretty much dry. Awesome. I'm gonna get this on the table and show you the final product. Look at it all set up. So pretty. Oh my gosh, I am in love with how this turned out. Seriously, this is adorable. This is even better than I thought it would be. Adorable. And turn around so you can see kind of the other side. It's literally the same thing, but whatever. Look at that. See if we can get that. There we go. Boom. Awesome. So, so, so cute. I'm going to put my other fall decor that I've done, the candle holders, as well as the grateful pumpkin, which is just kind of a pumpkin with bouquet, and come right back with that. Look at this adorable table. Totally ready for the holidays. Super cute. I don't know why my camera is like insisting on doing weird things with colors. Sorry about that. But yeah, look at this. Oh my God, it's so cute. So adorable. Totally in love with this. Ready for Thanksgiving. Super awesome. Or you can, you know, turn it this way and doop, doop, doop. Whole different vibe, or at the very least, better lit. Oh, I love this. It's so great. All right, you guys, so that's it. That is the easy peasy multiple ribbons and glue table runner, which turned into an awesome, awesome, awesome idea. Super happy with how it turned out. I hope you are too. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. I'll list everything you need down in the description below, along with my socials. As always, don't forget you can sew this craft pretty easily if you want to, but if you don't have a sewing machine, glue works just fine. I hope you have a great holiday season, and I'll see you soon. Bye.